She is an award-winning writer, researcher, educator who has dedicated her career to making mathematical modeling and data science more accessible to all. She is the inaugural executive director of the NC State Data Science Academy, and she's a professor of mathematics. Let's welcome Dr. Rachel Levy. Step over here if you want it.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Once upon a time, I was driving on a dark country road. I had two kids in the back. And as I was driving, a baby deer came flying out of the woods to my right to cross my path. In these moments, time kind of stands a little bit still, and you have a minute to think, what do I do? And so I thought, what do I do? Should I hit the deer? Maybe that's what driver's ed said to do. So I looked to my right, and there was a grassy shoulder. And I thought to myself, well, maybe if I time it just right, the deer can cross the road, I can go just a little bit off in the shoulder, and everybody will be okay. I thought, that doesn't seem like a very good idea. And then I looked to my left, maybe I can just go to the left, but there was an oncoming car. The headlights were coming towards me, and I didn't know what to do. This is what I think about when I think about self-driving cars. Right? I think about the situations in which there are decisions to be made. Who do we save? Right? Who do we hurt? Who do we not hurt? And I think about, well, what happens if that deer is the bicycle? Right? What would have happened if that deer was a child? What would I have done? I had two kids in the back. Then I think about, okay, well, what if I had a fully self-driving car? And then the other car is also a self-driving car. And our cars are made by different companies. Right? And so the algorithms might have different ideas. Have you ever been in a hallway where you're dodging, trying to dodge somebody, and you both go the same direction? You end up colliding anyway? It's possible if the self-driving cars are not coordinated in their actions. These are the things I think about. I was in Phoenix the day a woman took her bike across a dark road and was killed in Tempe. So I think about these things. And it's my job to think about these things now as I help people build AI for research, for education, for agricultural extension, for all of North Carolina and beyond. And so I think about, what if it had been a child and I'd hit them? What would happen next? I would go to court and I would say, here's what I was thinking. Here's why I did what I did. This is why it was the best I could possibly do in the situation, in the time I had. This is what I did. And I'd have to explain myself. And then a decision would be made as to my responsibility. If it's two self-driving cars, how does that process work? And how do we as builders of AI make sure that the things we do are explainable so that proper responsibility can be assigned in the situations where there are real decisions? Somebody's going to die. Who dies? This is a very old ethical problem. People have discussed it for centuries. But it's also a real problem, and our laws, our policies aren't quite set up yet to deal with this. If we are going to have policies and laws and enforcement to deal with it, we still need that explainability. Right? We still need to be able to say, why did the thing happen? Why did it happen? You know, with AI and automation, and I'm super excited about it in lots of spaces, in research and education and beyond, as long as everything's going great, we sometimes don't care why it works. We're just like, we got a better solution than the humans could get doing it this way, and we'll take it. It's good, right? Let's use it. And as long as everything's working great, it's great. It's when things don't go great that you need that responsibility, that explainability, right? And so we do need to think ahead and prepare for that. All right, So back to the road. On the road, I was holding the steering wheel, kids in the back, deer coming across, oncoming car coming for me. And I thought, okay, just hit the deer. So I held the steering wheel a little tighter. I think I even slightly accelerated because my brain told me that the timing would be better. I hit the baby deer. The deer went spinning. I looked for it the next morning. It wasn't there. I have no idea what happened to it. The oncoming car missed it, came by, and everything seemed fine. But at that moment, my headlights also shone on two hikers coming towards me on the grassy shoulder. If I had taken the grassy shoulder, I absolutely would have hit them. So I think AI might have been able to show me that those hikers were there because I could not see them, right, when the headlights were hitting my eyes in a certain kind of way. I'm really excited about the technology we're building on the way to automation that helps humans function better, this human-machine teaming that we will see and we already see in our present and in our future. The thing I want you to remember is, as we build AI, every decision behind what happens and that responsibility is made by a human. We decide what data to use to train our AI. We decide what weights to put in it to bias in the best of the meanings of that word, that solution to do the thing we want it to do. We do it. We make those decisions. Behind every AI, there are many, many human decisions. That's a good thing. What we need is to be able to remember to make things transparent and explainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Levy. Questions for Dr. Levy? We'll go right here.
Hi. So thinking about your story, I was wondering if you can speak a little bit about your social credit in that sense, and whether or not AI, in that sense, let's say the hikers had a lower social credit than the child walking across the street was. Have you thought about that aspect and how that would play a role?
Yeah. So the question was, I think, tell me if this is right. When you make a decision about who to save, you have to somehow decide based on what might be called social credit, or some sort of decision-making process. There have been really interesting studies done with people all over the world about how they would make this decision, right? Between a child, an elderly person, a disabled person, a person. Let's see, different kinds of animals. You can look up the studies. It's super interesting. What's interesting to me is that this varies by culture. It's not uniform, even on average, from country to country or parts of the world, how we preference things. So again, the AI that's developed in one part of the world might have a different social credit or way of preferencing one person over another. It may be that you don't hit this type of animal no matter what. Right? You preference that over the humans, right? Or you never preference an older person over a younger person. In other places, there's laws that say you can't do that. You cannot preference a younger person or an older person. You have to treat them equally. And so the ethicists amongst us are really valuable resources in that they've been thinking about these problems for centuries, and at least they understand the conundrums that we face in assigning that social credit. Thank you very much for your question.
Go over here.
Thank you. Would you mind sharing just briefly what your academy does and then how that relates to the training or interactions with AI?
I would love to. Thank you so much. So the Data Science Academy is 3 years old. I came to NC State to create it. It sits in the Office of University Interdisciplinary Programs in the Provost Office, and we have a mission to network and enhance data science across all the points of the mission. So research, engagement, extension, like I said. So we do a few things. I can't say them all, but I'll try to say it as quickly as possible. So we have about 20 one-credit classes every semester that are all project-based. And you're all going to want to take them because we have a rule: no quizzes, no tests. Signing up? right? Come take our classes. The public can sign up. We also do customized training for industry where we call that data or AI at work. We train you with your data, doing your tasks. Again, with that project-based approach. So we can do that for you, data at work. We did it recently with extension agents. We've done it for companies in the park. We've done it for our sponsor tonight, RTI. We've done it for the Department of Health and Human Services. So we serve North Carolina by giving these same kinds of upskilling. We also give seed grants to enhance interdisciplinary research, and we advise on a new whole floor of a building that's gonna have, you could call it co-piloted labs or self-driving labs, so we're advising that new research initiatives, as well as connecting researchers around campus with each other. And we're super interested in something we call BYOD, for grad students, bring your own data, where we train grad students in modules where they have an algorithm in common or a tool they want to learn how to use, but they bring the data from the research they're going to do as a grad student, and together they learn how to use this algorithm trying different kinds of data. So they not only learn it on their own data, like data at work, AI at work, but they also can see how it worked on other people's data. So those are the kinds of things that we're standing up. There's a lot more. We do a lot in the K-12 space. We recently worked with the Department of Public Instruction on a new career and technical education data science class as well. So super excited about all the people in all the spaces. Come see me if you need anything. We have it for you at NC State.
I saw a question back here.
Thank you for taking my question. What is your opinion on Tesla full self-driving?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
So what is your opinion on Tesla full self-driving?
What is my opinion on something for self-driving? I'm not going to talk about a particular company here. Nope, next.
A question over here.
I mean, I'll say the same thing about any company. I mean, the messages I gave, right? The messages are the same. It doesn't matter the company, right? We have to really think about when the things go wrong, how do we understand what happened? And then how do we appropriately assign responsibility? That's really for any company.
Thank you. So you said that the students bring their own data and you train them on that?
Yes.
Sort of like machine learning for humans?
Yes, exactly. Or companies. We do it with companies as well.
So the question is, if they bring their own data, does that data have to be scrubbed for data quality before it's used for AI work?
Yeah, so the question is, if our learners bring their own data, does it have to go through the usual processes that we know take most of the time in data projects of, looking at the quality of the data, the provenance of the data, where it came from, the cleaning of the data, were there missing values, were there errors in the data, does it matter, all of that, absolutely. So that's going to be part of any workflow, and then in these classes we're going to decide, is this part of the workflow or something we step them through beforehand, and then maybe they're ready, they come. It depends on the timing in the class, because again, that can be the most lengthy part of a data pipeline, is that cleaning process. Absolutely.
We're going to go over here, include this part of the room.
Hi. And thank you for sharing your story. And going back to that story, I'm very empiric on all these things related to statistics, AI. I'm passionate about it, but I'm a linguist. Still, I had this question. Knowing that AI is data, and knowing that that's the immediate goal that's happening and that's going to happen in the future, is the collection of all data in our hands. What do you think, or how long do you think it's going to take for your car to know in advance that that deer is in the area, that the people, the people with the bikes are coming, and that scenario is happening there? I'm thinking about cameras, security cameras, all that information happening in just one place.
Yeah, I think, so the question was like, how long till we have perfect information? I think the issue is even if we had perfect information, you will still have these ethical conundrums. So you will have perfect information in which you perfectly know that someone's going to die. Could be this one or that one. And the actions that you take will almost certainly cause that problem. And there may be no way out. Like, there's going to be some situations where there isn't a good solution. There's just going to be a choice between terrible solutions. Those are the problems. I mean, if there's easy solutions, right, with perfect or imperfect information, if there's easy solutions, we just take it. The things I'm concerned about, in addition to the reliability of in the good situations, is and what do we do in those terrible situations? In terms of a timeline, I do know people in the car automation industry. We have cars on the roads that are fairly automated, and at the same time, it is viewed as a very hard problem that we are very far from solving as well as we would like. So it's both. But we're in it, and if we're going to stay in it, we need to be able to understand what's happening and explain it. So does that catch what you were asking? Yeah, okay. And thank you for being here as a linguist. I'm excited that you're here.
One last question.
Thank you, and thank you for your story as well. So similar to like a trolley cart scenario, trying to decide who dies, who takes punishment, you really touched on the importance of ethics and the intentional decision-making that goes behind that.
Right.
You also touched on maybe cultural differences and differences of ethics. Are we duty-driven? Are we in-goals-driven? And I'm curious, with the work you've done, do you have any advice or tips for how to navigate the ethics and the decision-making that goes behind these decisions when different people have very different ideas of what should be happening and can back it up with decision-driven ethics?
Yeah, I don't know if I have good tips, but I have a disciplinary answer. I'm a mathematical modeler. If I want to understand things, whether it's a situation where I need to make a decision or I want to understand a person I really disagree with, I always start with, what's your goal? What's your objective? What are you trying to achieve here? We can almost automatically understand our differences if we understand that we really do have different goals. A lot of times, we might have the same goal, but different assumptions. So the next thing I go to is, what do you think the constraints are in this situation? What are your assumptions? And again, sometimes you can really understand what's going on or what to do based on what you choose to assume or what you already assume. And so surfacing, this is what we're trying to do. This is our goal. We're trying to maximize this, minimize this. Make it faster, make it cheaper, make it better, hurt fewer people, make the hurt everybody, but hurt them a lot less, right? Whatever it is, just those are your goals. And then what are your assumptions about that? Children are more important than adults. Adults are more important than children. Animals are more important than people. People are more important than animals. Just say it, right? Just say it. And then use those things to build your decision-making, whether it's a human decision-making or a machine decision-making, to be able to explain, this is why I took the path I took. Or this is where we agree, and this is why we disagree. It's really useful. So be mathematical modelers. Start with, what are you trying to achieve here? And then, you can always ask a question. Do you assume this? Do you assume animals are more important than humans? It can just help you have a conversation. Whether you agree or disagree, you can surface those assumptions and build bridges. And I really encourage you to talk with people you don't agree with.
It's good to end on. Thank you, Dr. Levy.